Before we begin today's episode, we do want to acknowledge the losses of both Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau. Their passing not only greatly impacts their families, of course, but also the entire hockey community. And we do offer our deepest condolences to the Gaudreau family as they're going through this difficult grieving and mourning process. So before we begin, we want to take a moment of silence in honor of Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau. Thank you for joining us in that time of silence. They will definitely not be forgotten anytime soon, but for now, we're going to get into the episode. Yeah, so to begin, I do want to make it aware for those who are watching. If you're listening, it don't make a difference, but if you are watching, I do not have long hair anymore. Made the decision to chop it all off. Still have the beard though. I was balding really bad at the top of my head. I always wore hats, so no one ever knew. But I decided, this is going. So let's just get rid of it all.
just so everyone knows, this is a big step because I think ever since you were probably freshman in high school, you've kept that hair long.
I think so. This is the way I remember my history of my hair. So I had it fairly long, and then we all got head lice.
Yeah.
I think I was in 6th grade or something, maybe 7th. And so they chopped my hair off, and I hated how they look. And I'm like, I am not going to ever cut my hair again. So I grew it out all the way up until I was about 19 or 20. I tried to do that thing where you shave the sides and leave the top long, and I'm like, that looks terrible.
I don't even remember that. It must have been really bad.
It was really brief. And I grew it back long again, barely ever cut it, and then now we're here. That's about it.
It's a crazy day that I knew would happen eventually, but I'm glad to see it. I lived through it. I got to see the bald Brett. I shaved my head too, but that's not as surprising. No. I typically do.
You typically keep it shorter. I'll say that I am good because I have a beard. I would never have done this if I couldn't grow a beard, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I just got the fireworks with the double thing. I did not know Discord was going to do that. That was interesting. Let's get into some hockey talk. We're going to start off with news from your team, the Nashville Predators. They finally decided to trade Askarov. He asked for a trade away from Nashville. He asked for a trade away from Nashville because it was clear Saros is going to be the starter, and Askarov said, I'm not going to report to AHL training camp. I want an NHL job.
It's because Saros is the starter. I would say it's because they signed Wedgwood to be the backup.
Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, I did forget to bring that. Yeah, because Askarov, when that was part of what I was getting to, he said, I'm not going to show up to AHL camp. And the fact that you signed Scott Wedgwood shows me where you're at with me, and I'm done playing in the AHL. I know I've deserved an NHL job, and I think, he does. He does, yeah.
He does.
Here is the...
I would have preferred him as backup.
Right, I know you did. But here is the trade. He is traded to the San Jose Sharks. Great pickup for them. Along with Askarov, the Sharks also get Nolan Burke and a 2025 third-round pick. And what Nashville gets in return is David Edstrom, Magnus Krona, and a 2025 first-round pick, but it's not San Jose's. It's Vegas's.
No. Smart on them.
Magnus Krona is a name I'm somewhat familiar with because he's a college goalie. He was really good with, I had it in my head, one of the bigger schools for college. I don't, maybe it was Boston University even. That could be wrong, but a bigger university, and he was pretty good. But college goalies normally don't do great at the NHL level, but this Magnus Krona is probably going to be your AHL starter.
Yeah, it's it's a solid trade for a former top prospect goalie. The fact that we were able to get former first round pick David Enstrom. I think when I looked up him, he had like a decent season in the I think it's Swedish league. I think is what he was in. And then of course you get a goaltender return because we need one to replace Askarov for the minors. And then who knows? Vegas could suck. You never know.
You do never know. They are definitely on the way down. Uh, they're extremely over the cap right now, and
Yeah,
they're
they lost to Stanler Stevenson, right?
they lost both Chandler Stevenson and their Conn Smythe winner Jonathan Marchessault.
Yes, and we have him.
Yes, you have Marchie. Yes, that's correct. He has now
That's
played
right.
for both of our teams. Well, I guess he hasn't played for Nashville yet, but he will. So
He'll get there. He'll get there.
the
I
season's
totally
coming.
forget that this season I'm gonna watch Stamkos as a Nashville Predator. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna definitely try to watch games not only because we have a podcast now, but so that way I can feel like I'm involved and actually know how the team
I
is
know what's going
playing.
on.
I expect the same from you. You got to do it.
Hey, I will watch the first game for
No,
sure.
you gotta watch all. You gotta keep up to date with them Panthers.
I'll probably do what I did the last few seasons where I've been more involved with hockey related news. Twitter is the go to for
Oh
knowing what's
dear,
going on, to be honest.
that's
You
true.
just got to make
Well,
this is what I do. So I don't do the regular feed. I have my notifications set to, and so I only look at the notifications of people who I said I want to be notified when these people post. So I only have like specifically hockey people.
but you could just watch the team play and get your own opinion. It's okay. I won't judge. Kinda, but
You're judging.
overall, I think
You're judging.
this. I'm of course judging, but this trade basically Askarov and the fact that we're trading a third. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I,
That's a
I
little upsetting,
I feel like
but
it should have just been Askarov for those three. I feel like I don't know if Nolan Burke's worth
Nolan
anything.
Burke's a nothing. He's a
Yeah.
nothing prospect. So
Um, the third round pick feels like a too much of a like they
third
didn't
round
have to
pick,
do that.
but then again, it's you're advancing up to a first round pick. That's basically what it is.
That's true.
So I like the trade. I don't hate it. It could always have been worse. It could have been like a third round pick, and then we're like, well, we just
You're right.
drafted this guy 11th overall, and we got a third for him.
Their
Yeah,
backs were up against the wall with this because Askarov said trade me. I'm not going
yeah,
to show up for AHL camp.
and they were able to get a first. That helps.
Yeah, and who knows?
Um,
Edstrom should be at least an NHL player. I don't know if
I
he's going to
hope
be a
he's an
top
NHL
player, but he
player.
should be an NHL
I
player.
I hope so. We need a hit for once. Our only hit I feel like has been Tommy Novak. Oh, you can see my cat in the look at him.
Hello,
Oh, there he
Hootie.
is. And then so we had Tommy Novak, who's kind of been a hit for us. Luke Evan
Evangelista.
Evangelista. He's been a nice pickup too, but I feel like our first round picks have been like duds. Tomasino doesn't look that great. And then even though Cody Glass wasn't our first round pick, he was a dud. Oh, excuse me. And then this we have this Russian guy who maybe will be something. I don't know. And Zach Lahurix, he seems like a
Dude,
menace
that
to
guy's got
society.
the weirdest name. That's very French. Don't know how
It's
to say it
very
all.
French, and I doubt he's gonna ever see the NHL.
No, his the role that he would kind of play has kind of gone extinct in the NHL.
It feels like it. Like we were hoping like we got a Brad Marchand, but I think we got just a very angry
A
man.
worse Arbor Chikai. But
But
Arbor Chikai's a defenseman. I think Laharu is a forward.
he's a winger.
Yeah.
But I like the trade. I can't
Okay.
I don't hate it. It could always been worse.
And I think
Like
it could have been better.
when NFL teams draft a guy like in the first round, then they trade him for like a 6. They get rid of him.
Right. Well, the thing is, Askarov had value, right? It's not like
He
the
did
other
have that.
people. Who am I thinking
He
of?
should. He was really good in the AHL.
Yeah, and he's still young, and he's still
Do
considered
you
a top
remember?
prospect.
I think Nail Yakupov got traded for like a third and some random nobody to St. Louis.
That ended up working out for neither team, really.
No, I think I don't even know if Nail Yakupov even played
I
that
don't
much in
think
St.
so.
Louis.
I don't know if he ever played
Or was
for
it
St. Louis.
Colorado where he played a bit? Oh man, I'm lost. You know,
Wacky
we should
career.
probably we should probably move on to huge news.
I'm just calling this portion of the episode Extension City. Obviously, with the season approaching, not in closing. With
Very
the season
soon.
approaching, teams don't want the stress of extensions hanging over their heads. They want to get them done so they can just play the season without worrying about, like, I don't know if we're going to lose this guy after this year. So several guys got extended uh, beyond this year, and we're going to start with the second largest contract signed in NHL history, Leon Draisaitl. He decided to disappoint everyone who's not an Oilers fan and decided to stick
Yep.
around for 8 more years with a $14 million cap hit. That is a total of $112 million he's going to make over the course of this deal. Only Alex Ovechkin signed a bigger deal. I don't have it on hand, but I think it's even
It
not
was a
that
weird
much
one.
bigger. But that's when players could sign larger contracts than 8 years.
Yeah.
This is going to be this is the largest 8-year contract by far.
That means Ovi had a bigger contract than Kovalchuk. That's crazy.
Yep. I think Shea Weber also was up there with his 14-year contract,
Oh my god.
which is still in effect today. Utah is still going to be paying that contract.
Philadelphia. God. But yeah, I think people are now crossing their fingers like, oh, maybe McDavid will leave the
He's
Oilers.
not leaving. Come on now. Now, the thing about this and the thing about McDavid not leaving, I'd be shocked if he left, honestly. I
It
was
would be
expecting Draisaitl to leave, but now that he's locked up, McDavid's not going anywhere. And the
that's
problem
close
that
to a cup. So they were one game away.
so this year is their window, in my opinion, because once that Draisaitl contract goes into effect, which is not this year, it's going to start the following season. So they technically have it for 9 more years, to think about it that way.
Yeah.
But year is their window. If they don't get it done, they will not have the cap space to have any depth, which has already been a struggle for Edmonton, and it's going to get worse when Draisaitl and McDavid are both making $14 million. That's so much money wrapped up in two players, and then they're still going to be paying Darnell Nurse way too much. Um, it's going to be hard to have a good bottom six, and while bottom six are not your stars when it comes to playoffs, you need a good bottom six.
But they got the guy from Chicago to do all this.
Oh yes,
He's gonna
what's his
build a
face?
dynasty. Stan Bowman. But overall, I think I just couldn't see Leon in a different jersey. Like I always think about it, and I was like, no, I would be shocked if he leaves Edmonton. It's just there's never been signs saying like he doesn't want to stay there. It's always felt like he wants to be an Edmonton Oiler. So $14 million, and then whatever McDavid's going to get in his next contract, it is going to be hard to build depth for sure. But I'm guessing they're banking on the cap space going up a decent bit.
Even then, I don't know.
It's a problem with some teams though; they just keep signing like these crazy contracts for like bottom six. Like Eric Branson is making $4 million.
Right,
People,
right. No, I think you gotta like Florida. We're gonna see how well it goes this season, but Florida's kind of found out the way to sign guys to bigger contracts, but not these huge contracts. And it'll find these discount guys that are gonna take $1 million, maybe 1.2, to come play for Florida with a chance to win a
or do
cup.
have the Florida advantage versus Edmonton, who has to pay guys higher
Sure,
because
no, of course. I do,
yeah,
and that argument gets pushed a lot. And
it does.
apparently, the CBA, I believe that's what you call it, is going to be up at the end of the 2025-2026 season. And
Ooh.
apparently, there is going to be discussions about a different salary cap for certain states. I hate that idea. I think that's stupid.
That is the worst idea of all time.
Yes, it is. And so, and obviously with a new CBA coming up, there's always going to be some slight changes and stuff. Just hopefully there's not a lockout. That's the only always the thing you got to worry about with the NHL. They've dealt with
No in the
too many
NHL.
lockouts.
No in the NHL. We're probably gonna get a lockout.
Yeah, we got to experience that because we got into hockey in 2009, and then the
The 2012.
2012 lockout. If everyone thought it was going to be another 2004 2005 thing, but they ended
They
up
actually
figuring it out in
did half.
January, and were able to play like basically a half season.
Man, Ovi would have already broken the Gretzky record if he didn't have to deal with this crap.
And don't forget that he had four seasons messed up from either lockouts or world disease. So his rookie year was
don't forget about COVID.
2004. So he missed his original rookie year because of the lockout, then missed half of a season because of the 2012 lockout. Then you have the 2 COVID years that shortened the seasons. So yeah, he would have already broken it if those things didn't happen, especially that rookie year.
I know we're getting off topic a bit, but I'm just so happy Ovi won a cup.
Oh yeah,
it cements his legacy. Not everyone's not going to be like, well, you never won a cup.
Nah, it's he only won 1 cup. Crosby won 3.
Well, Crosby also had a Genny Malkin.
He had Backstrom.
Genny Malkin is a playoff beast. Back in the day. I don't know about now.
But yeah, I mean Malkin and Crosby, they had that 1-2 punch, but I feel like they also had so much that those Penguins teams had so much depth. I mean, you got Phil Kessel on those teams, Patrick Hornquist. I mean, Chris Letang has been there. You had 2 good goaltenders, Fleury and Matt Murray. I mean,
that's great.
They were stacked.
That is insane how Matt Murray was Stanley Cup winning goalie to as soon as he went to Ottawa.
Oh man, and what I was trying to say is that is what been Edmonton's idea with McDavid and Draisaitl, for the most part, other than being able to fully get it done in the playoffs. That's what they've done, and I'm really not sure if they're going to be able to get there again if they don't do it this year, because you do need depth to get you. I mean, they're always going to get into the playoffs with those 2 guys. I don't know if they'll get deep.
It could always be like a random year they make it. Like, I don't think many people were expecting them to make it this year after like their start to the season, and then they fire their coach, and then all of a sudden they turn the wheels around and start becoming good. Well, it's kind of like how the St. Louis story kind of, when they won their cup, they were awful.
32nd at the halfway point.
Yeah. Well, I think 31st. I don't think Seattle was a team yet.
Oh, sorry, 31st. You're right. My bad.
So, or maybe it was 30th. Maybe Vegas wasn't even a
No,
team.
Vegas was around because that was the year after their first season.
Okay.
Anyways, let's move on to the next big signing, another 8-year extension. Not nearly as much cap hit though.
This is actually a really good contract.
Seth Jarvis has decided to stick around in the Carolina Hurricanes organization by signing an 8-year extension with a 7.42 yearly cap hit. Seth Jarvis kind of came on the scene kind of unexpectedly from the rest of the league. Maybe the Hurricanes knew this guy was going to be good, but I know for me and a lot of okay, I don't know his name. Maybe it's his name is like not.
Is his name? Okay.
I don't know.
I've always known about this guy.
Okay. So it's just me. Yeah, but
Seth Jarvis is a nice little. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but he's a nice little. Actually, developed into like what he was kind of potentially set to be, like a really good top 6 guy. Because I think he was drafted like in the mid-teens. I think.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. Like he wasn't like a top pick, but
he wasn't a top prospect. But I think the fact that he developed into a really good player. I think he was a part of the Portland Winterhawks. Same with like Cody Glass, all those guys, and developed actually pretty good, and Carolina has been good at developing prospects, I feel like, lately. So another
They
one to
have
add to
been.
the books.
Yeah, Carolina has struggled with trying to keep themselves under the cap, and they have done it well, but they're like right there. Like,
They're there. They're so close.
yeah. Um,
If only we had cap friendly, I would look at their cap situation. But I guess I can open up Puckpedia.
good old Puckpedia. Um, Carolina's window feels like it's fairly open. It's definitely not closing anytime soon. Their core is young. Aho is still young. They've got Jacob Slavin locked up for a long time. If Kachetkov continues to improve, then they've got their goaltender of the future. I think they're set up to
That's
continue
like
to
their
be well.
main thing that they keep struggling with is goaltending.
Well, it's because they keep getting hurt. It's not so much the performance;
Yeah.
they just keep getting hurt.
I mean, Frederick Anderson is still their goalie. I mean, I feel like this guy is done.
Dude, that guy has had
And
so many health issues, which sucks for him. I'm not like I don't want to make sound like I'm making fun of it because he's
nah,
not dealing with just your like normal injuries. Like he's had like blood clots and stuff, and it's insane.
yeah.
But it makes it hard on an organization.
It's just
Like
tough to be that's your starter as a guy who you're always concerned about. Is he actually going to be healthy?
right, right. Like stinging
Um,
Robin Lehner. Like what? Remember when that guy used to be good?
oh yeah, I think he's still getting paid by Vegas somehow.
I think he's still technically on the roster, but
Yeah,
he's just on
it's even
perpetual
insane.
LTIR.
Prospect goalie wise, I'm looking at Carolina. They don't. I think they have this one Russian guy. I don't even know if he's good or not.
Nah, it's all
Um,
it's Kachekov or nothing for
yeah,
them, honestly. I mean, Anderson, like you said, he's still there, but Kachekov is going to be their starter for the future.
and I was looking to see who they're losing next year. Pretty much just Dmitry Olrov,
Oh,
Brent
okay.
Burns, uh, Jack Roslovic, who I think just
They
signed. I
just
think.
yeah, they just got him.
Yeah, and then Jesper Fast, who's been there for a while. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's just been a kind of a middle six kind of guy. The
Yeah.
the losses of Burns and Orlov should be able to be replaced. I would think.
Mhm. Yeah, you do have to replace with two defensemen, but the good thing about Carolina is that they do like have a solid defensive group, even if they leave. Like they just signed Sean Walker to that really good contract.
They
They
have
have Ryan
Gostis Bear.
Bear, Jalen Chatlin. So you just basically got to find two bottom six guys, and
Yeah, and like
looking
I
at the
said, they can
roster,
find that. Burns is making a decent amount of money, I believe.
I've seen the name Scott Morrow before, so maybe him. But I like the signing just Jarvis, and I think Carolina still will be that good team that will get swept by a better team
In the Eastern Conference Finals. Nice. Speaking of
because
defensemen, this is someone that Carolina will not be able to sign because he signed a 4-year extension in Seattle, and his name is Adam Larson, the former New Jersey Devil traded for Taylor Hall guy. He decided he likes it in Seattle. He's going to stick around there for 4 more years with only a 5.25 cap hit, which I think is a good value for him. He's providing some veteran leadership. He's still a solid defensive defenseman. He's not going to be competing for the Norris anytime soon, but he is a solid blue liner, and I think it's a smart thing for Seattle to keep him.
yeah, it solidifies their top four
Mm-hmm.
because they have Vince Dunn, newly acquired Brandon Montour. So I wonder if their top two is looking like Vince Dunn, Adam Larson, since you want the defensive guy with
Yep.
the offensive, and then Brandon Montour with Jamie Alexiak. Jamie Alexiak's huge, by the way.
Yes. No, I know.
Defensive defenseman, definitely. They also have another former Panther on defense. Recent former Panther. Can you guess who it is?
Okay, I just pulled up their Puckpedia, but I didn't look down yet.
Waiver claim.
Because Jared McCann is a former Panther.
Yes.
Um,
Defenseman.
I almost want to say Olu Ulevi, but that's not right.
No. I think he's out of the league.
I'm gonna have to cheat on you a little bit
Josh
here.
Mahura.
Oh, Mahura, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little depth guy.
His name, I can't did get on the cup. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I like what Seattle's going. They also have the prospect Lucas Dragovich. I think he's a former first round pick. Caden Price, I'm pretty sure. Didn't he make Team Canada or something? I think
for
he made
that
something.
for Seattle, like I think their defense is where they're strong, and then
Oh yeah.
goaltending is very
Goaltending
questionable.
is very Grubauer is the a goalie in the league.
And then they lack star power for forwards. There's really no one who's gonna come into the Kraken a Kraken game and like take it over. Like McCann has kind of like like he's done very well and has become a top scorer there, but McCann's not a superstar in my opinion, and I think a lot
Yeah,
of
they're
Kraken
just
fans
hoping
don't
Matty
agree.
Beniers can turn into that.
Sorry, say that again.
They're hoping Matty Beniers can be their superstar.
Right, but even he's more like a Barkov type guy, like two way.
Yeah.
And I guess Barkov does take over games, but like for
I looked
most
up
of
a I
what
looked up a stat on Grubauer. It's kind of interesting. Every single season before he came to Seattle, he was a let's see, what's the number? It's the lowest number. He was a 915 or above
for his save percentage.
save percentage. 915, really good. As soon as he joined Seattle, 889, 895, 899. He was so close to hitting 9 again. But yeah, this guy, I don't think that was a bad signing. I always thought that was a weird signing when they first signed him.
I mean, even look at the goals against average from that year in Colorado to Seattle, a 1.95, which is insane in 40
Horrible.
games, and then a 3.16.
Pretty sure Joey Decord was like their starter last year because he
Decord
actually
started to take it
played.
over. He did.
Yeah, 50 games played. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely their starter.
yeah. And he looked good. Um,
They'll probably get an extension. They'll probably look to move out Grubauer or buy him out.
they're gonna probably have to either give him up for like see if someone like they'll have to like trade one of their top prospects along with Grubauer to get rid of him. They'll have to do like something like that because that 5.9 is gonna make it difficult to sign Decord to might be what he wants, especially if he has a great year. Like if Decord plays really well, that's why
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't signed an extension yet because he knows he can prove he's worth even more. Of course, he's taking
But
that risk that if he sucks, then he's not going to make as
oh
much.
yeah,
But it's a high risk, high reward for
he'll
Decord.
probably make if he have a solid season. I could see him making 5 million a
You're
year.
right, right, and
Respectable goaltender.
but they don't want to be paying $10 million to two goalies. I mean, the
Yeah,
Florida.
that's why I'm saying they would either trade Grubauer or buy
Mhm,
him out. He's only got 2 years left after that, so you would look at a only 4 year buyout, so it wouldn't be too bad.
right. Although I do think some
I
teams
like
can allocate it out to be longer so that they pay less. It's kind of confusing. Buyouts are always weird. And
forgot to mention during the Edmonton thing of the Stuart Skinner actually like developing into the starter because I
right,
did not expect that at all
no,
because
nobody did.
Jack Campbell, that signing immediately looked like the worst thing of all time, and they had to just bite the bullet and buy him out because he was genuinely so bad. I don't know what happened, but
He needs to go back to
yeah,
playing in the USA.
he needs to go back to not playing goalie. But oh my goodness, but as I was saying about Seattle, signing Adam Larson, their defense looks good for the years to come. As long as Brandon Montour doesn't take a giant dip.
He will, but that's fine.
Okay, okay. You're always on the former Panther. It is true. He's never like really looked great anywhere else besides
And it
Florida.
was only that one season. Last year, he honestly wasn't that good.
He was pretty good in the playoffs.
He did okay. He was better at the previous playoffs.
But yeah, he was they're really hoping that because they're paying him $7 million.
And the thing is he just turned 30, right? And they signed him
The 7 year? Yep,
seven
it is 7
years.
year.
So
Jeez.
like
All right. All
like
right.
even if he's really good like this year, I don't think 4 years from now this contract is going to be worth it.
Yeah, they have their core locked up in Beniers, Stevenson, and Montour.
Yeah. They're still waiting for
Oh,
Shane Wright, who is still would be considered a rookie this year, by the way. So
yes.
he is a Calder candidate. Um, which that's something we could potentially talk about later. But we do have some other extension talk that we can get to before we do that. Um, this is kind of going to be a Maple Leaf minute, I guess.
Yeah.
Nick Robertson kind of stirred up some controversy in the NHL news just by asking he wanted out of Toronto. He says I don't want to play
Mhm.
here. He's an RFA, or I should say was an RFA, and he decided to sign a 1 year deal with a minimal 875 cap hit, but he still doesn't want to be there. He basically, I don't know why he signed the contract if he still wants to be traded. Maybe he figured a team might be more willing to trade for him if he's already signed to a deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very weird situation.
That's just always the Maple Leafs, though. They're always in these weird
It's
situations.
true. I feel like someone's gonna want Nick Robertson. He's not his brother, by any stretch. Jason Robertson, for those who don't know, but Nick Robertson still showed plenty of good potential. He's a solid middle six forward. He can provide scoring depth while also being good defensively. Someone can pick him up and want him. So I think he'll find a home eventually if
I
he really
mean,
doesn't want to be in Toronto.
it's true. Like last year, he did have 27 points in 56 games. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
So, I mean, I would. I don't see why a team just doesn't throw like a third and call it a day. I
Maybe
feel like that,
Toronto's asking for like a lot. Who knows?
if they're asking for more than just like a draft pick and maybe a prospect back, or maybe if they're looking to make like a, yeah, I don't know. That seems weird. Hopefully, he gets traded, and hopefully, it's to a team that we'll never hear from him again.
And part of the reason why the Maple Leafs might want to trade him is it has been reported by several reliable edge reporters that Max Pacioretty intends to join the Toronto Maple Leafs, but Max Pacioretty can't sign there until the Leafs have the space to do it. So they're gonna have to do something. I don't know why this news was released this way. It's kind of weird. It's like, so he told the Leafs, "Hey, I'll sign there if you can find the space for me." I don't know, and it's gonna be even harder because today they also signed Yanni Hakanpää to a 1 point something deal. So now they have even
One
less
point
cap
four
space.
seven.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. But now they have even less money to try and make room for Max Pacioretty, who I don't think could be wanting that much. He really hasn't proved that he's worth more than a veteran minimum contract.
Their whole defensive situation is weird. I'm looking at this. They have 8 guys who they're paying at least $1 million. 8.
You're right. That is weird. Why would you do that? You're just
I,
expecting guys to be injured or
yeah.
something.
Connor Timmins, Simon Benoit, Yanni Hakanpää now, Jake McCabe, Timothy Liljegren, Oliver
Well,
Ekman-Larsson for 4 years,
Tanev, it's a good signing.
Tanev, and then
Of
of
course,
course their
Riley Morgan.
one good defenseman, Morgan Riley.
I said Riley Morgan. Nice.
This is awful.
I don't think it's an awful defense. I think it's out overall solid. To be honest, it's just kind of like you got too
Besides the top
much.
two, Liljegren is very inconsistent. Ekman-Larsson, do they
That's a
really
big
expect him
wild
to be
card.
a 4-year great defenseman?
He won a
Like,
cup.
they don't have any top 4 guys. They have Tanev and Riley, and then a bunch of top 6 defensemen.
And even with Tanev, I don't know if you can see this, but Tanev is 34 and he signed a
He's
4 year
old.
contract. I know there's a couple guys who play into their 40s, but that's like the best of the best who do that. Not Chris Tanev.
That's their second best defenseman. Who knows if he takes a dip because of his age,
Right.
or worse, and possibly the more likely situation, he just might be hurt a lot because he's old,
And
and you're stuck with him till 2030.
right. Right. And the thing is, like, older players can play without getting hurt, but they're typically not the top two, right? Like, I think Dowdy is probably a good exception to that rule. Um, I don't think, I can't ever
He's
remember Drew
basically
Dowdy
forced
being
to be
injured,
top.
to be honest. What did
He's
you say?
basically forced to be there. Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah, Drew Dowdy is getting pretty old up there, and I don't. It would be surprising to see him injured. I mean, Brent Burns, I think, is playing top 2 minutes, but like I said, what I was trying to say is those guys are like some of the best defensemen in the league. Chris Tanev is a solid defender, no doubt about it. But is he one of the? Is he like the best of the best? No, not really. So I don't know.
Mhm. I I'm looking at the Maple Leafs. I think Steve Dangle is going to have an aneurysm by the end of this
He's gonna have an
season.
aneurysm regardless. Like,
Because I'm looking at this situation. I think the only thing the Maple Leafs can be happy about is Easton Cowan. He looks like a really good prospect coming out. Maybe he can debut. And then their goaltending situation, Joseph Voll's like always going to get hurt for some reason. I hope he can play a full healthy year. Anthony Stolarz is, though, I like that as a backup option. As a really good backup
he
option.
was awesome last year for Florida. He didn't play a single minute in the playoffs, but
Playoffs, but
um, during the regular season, he did great. He had the best goals against average in the league, better
yeah,
than any other backup. So
I just look at this defense. They have the same four guys plus this depth. They're paying Ryan Reeves is still making money in the NHL, and he's literally just a fighter. I don't get it.
this
I
is
don't get it.
this is weird. I am seeing both Max Pacioretty and Steven Lorentz listed on this Maple Leafs roster, but it says they're
Me
not making
too.
any money. It just says they're UFAs on
You know,
Toronto. What does
we
that
just love
mean?
Puckpedia. We love them. Thank you, Washington Capitals.
I don't really remember hearing about Steven Lorentz wanting to sign in Toronto, so that's a little weird.
I heard it. He might just be on a PTO though.
There's been so many PTOs, and honestly, a lot of them aren't worth talking about. So I didn't. We're not going to talk about the PTOs.
No,
If they sign a year deal, we'll talk about it.
I think the only one that I liked was I saw Simon Gagne still getting a deal, and I'm like, yes, he's such a great bottom fourth line guy who always gives it all his all.
I didn't realize he was still playing.
I know he still plays, and that's what's awesome.
Good old Simon Gagne.
I love Simon Gagne. I wish the Predators would have gave him a shot.
So we've talked a lot about players who have signed, made extensions, the intent to sign. One big story, and this is getting bigger and bigger the longer it takes. Jeremy Swayman, the Boston Bruins' only starting caliber goaltender, has still not signed there. And it's not like they're waiting to sign him to extension beyond this year. No, he needs to be signed to this year. He is still a restricted free agent. Apparently the terms are like completely different. Swayman's wanting Bobrovsky levels of money, and Boston is more around like the 5 million mark. So that is wide.
No shot. They are thinking, oh yeah, we can give you $5 million a year, unless that's only 1 year, and then he gets another contract. Yeah, this guy should not be making $5 million with the stats he has. Oh
No.
my god. Okay, so they have $8 million in cap space. I can understand why they want to save some of that money, but I mean, oh, that's
Imagine Boston Bruins. They traded Linus Allmark, saying, Swayman, you're our guy. They get they're ready, and then they come out to the season saying Jonas Corposalo is our starting goaltender.
We're going with Brandon Bussy and just doing this Corpus.
Oh man.
I don't know if that's how you say his name, but that's how I will say his name.
Oh, I would tell you what, as someone who does not like Boston, and Jeremy Swayman is from Alaska, So he's going to be one of my favorite players if he doesn't play for Boston. I'm really hoping this breaks down so far that they have to get rid of him.
I feel like they'll definitely find something.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
think 6.5 is probably the number, something in that range.
he's worth 8. Um,
Hmm.
especially because
Now
he's
that he's going to be the full time starter.
yeah. So if they get him 8 for 8, I think that's a good deal. It's a lot of money for a goaltender. We've seen that bite teams in the butt. But for Swayman, who's still 25 and is currently one of the best goaltenders and almost single handedly took out the Florida Panthers out of the playoffs this past season, um,
Oh yeah,
he deserves to be one of the highest paid goaltenders in the league. And Boston should be willing, like, you can't play this like NHL 24. You can't play this like it's EA Sports. These guys know what they're worth, and you got to give it to them.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Jeremy Swayman is the guy now.
Mm-hmm.
Pay him like he's the guy. Like there's Pasternak, Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy, and then your goalie, who now you're 100% committed behind. You traded Linus Olmark. If you really wanted to trade someone, you should have traded Swayman because you signed Olmark. But
A lot of people are realizing maybe they should have waited until they signed Swayman to try and trade Allmark. So
they
you,
have cap space.
yeah, I think Allmark was making 5, I believe. I could be wrong.
That's funny that Corpusalo in that contract only lasted one season with Ottawa. That is funny.
Corpusal is a very meh goalie. Like, definitely
Very
not a
mad.
starter.
We
That's for
just
sure.
remember him for that COVID year where he single handedly defeated the Maple Leafs in the play in.
I nailed it. Allmark is making exactly $5 million.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you remember that series? I remember watching that series a lot.
I recently it's kind of like, speaking of Ottawa goaltenders. Um, do you remember Andrew Hammond, the Hamburglar?
Yes.
He received Hart Trophy votes that year.
That if you look at his stats that year, he deserves it to be honest because he single handedly carried them to the
He did.
playoffs.
He did.
It was the Hamburglar moment was probably the one of my favorite
It was
moments
kind of
in
like
hockey.
Linsanity in the NBA, if you remember that.
Yes. Jeremy Lin, he NBA champion Jeremy Lin. Don't forget about
I
that.
did forget about that, so I'm glad you
He was
reminded
on
me.
the Raptors when they won the championship.
That's so random. I did not know that. Andrew Hammond, not a Stanley Cup champion, but one of the
No,
all-time
definitely a
fluky seasons.
great story for about him because he literally came out of nowhere. Like he was already like in his mid 20s, I think, when he got called up,
Mhm.
and just it's like those stories where an emergency goalie comes in,
Oh
but
yeah,
instead this guy came in and played in the NHL
all right.
for multiple years.
And all-time great nickname. I mean, the Hamburglar. Come on.
Yeah, he'll never. I'll try to my best not to forget about him. I'll be sitting on the campfires like remember the Hamburglar.
Back in my day, there was the Hamburglar, and he
I
had a
think
great season.
Nashville would have won the cup that year if we faced the Hamburglar instead of Crosby and the Penguins.
That's right.
Colton
That was
Sissons,
that season. That's right.
Colton Sissons was our number one center going to the cup.
It's actually just going to be me you're having those conversations with, very
Oh yeah,
likely.
because I'm probably gonna just have those conversations in my head because I'll be senile.
Oh, moving away from Boston, we're going to talk about a former Boston Bruin,
Oh
Torrey
yeah,
Krug. Um, Probably considered the number one defenseman for St. Louis after Peter Angelo went to Vegas. He is going to miss the entire 2024-25 season with ankle surgery. So St. Louis, who already started kind of like a retool this past off season, actually really starting at the trade deadline, to be honest.
Yeah.
They are going to be missing their top defender, and that does give a window for their newly acquired Philip Broberg to step up a little bit. Obviously, not as the number one defenseman. That's not what I'm trying to say, but that he will have probably a bigger role ish with Torrey Krug not being
He'll
able to
definitely
play.
play in the NHL all season.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Um,
Um,
I'm definitely
looking at
confident with Krug being the number one defenseman. They've got Justin Falk, Periaco. That's it. Ryan Suter.
Justin Falk, Perico, they're two right-handed defensemen. Then looking at their defense, like you got
Nick
Nick
Leddy.
Leddy, who I didn't realize was getting paid $4 million.
$4
Okay, dude. Um, then they have the guy
Perunovich. I've never.
Scotch Perunovich. I never heard of him. I don't really follow the Blues. I feel like I've seen that name before.
One of the Joseph brothers.
Okay, he doesn't have a goal yet in the NHL, but he's played like
Ooh,
2
they
seasons.
have both the Joseph brothers, Matthew and
They
Pierre.
do, Matthew and Pereira. And they have Ryan Suter.
They randomly, they picked up Ryan Suter. Yep,
I didn't realize he got bought out again.
39-year-old Ryan Suter. I think his contract just ended. Are you sure he got bought out?
He may have. I remember them signing him to a 4-year deal, and I don't remember Ryan Suter playing 4 years for Dallas.
He signed a 4-year deal that started in
Maybe wrong.
2021, expired at 2024. So no, he played out his contract. At least according to Puckpedia. I could be wrong. I'm just looking at it and it says contract
It's
expiry
okay.
2024.
It's not that big of a deal, but
I have to.
yeah, that's a huge loss on their defense. But luckily, they have one of my favorite names in their prospect pool who can come up and replace him.
Okay.
Leo Loof.
Neo Loof.
Leo
Loof. Oh, the alliteration. It's perfect.
Leo
And he's left-handed, so it fits the mold right there.
Yeah, I think he'll probably lead them to their second Stanley Cup.
That's right. It'll come out of nowhere too, for sure, because I don't think much is expected of this team this year.
And then I'll always say, I knew.
The Conn Smythe winner, Leo Loof.
With 80 points in the playoffs.
That's right. He's the new Bobby Orr.
I always forget that Brandon Saad is still in the league. And he's only 31. He's not even that old.
No. Yeah, he feels older than he really is. I think it's because he was on those Chicago teams that were good, and that feels like so long ago. But it really is not that long ago.
I love looking for teams again. I'm excited for the hockey season.
For sure.
I literally saw a Facebook post that I made several years ago, like, oh, hockey season's almost here.
One thing to be excited about, and I think a lot of people are, is because new things can be exciting. The Utah Hockey Club officially unveiled their full uniform they're going to be rolling out this year. We knew what the jerseys were going to look out, but they unveiled that the whole look, I mean, it's not too surprising what they're going with, just kind of like the full black with those blue and white stripes. It's a very basic and simple look, but I think it's okay. Like, it's definitely not one of the best jerseys or looks in the league, but it's not bad either. That's kind of my opinion about it.
I think this will be a jersey collector item because they're going to have a whole new branding.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if you would want a jersey of this team, I think you would get it just for the novelty of, like, I owned
the inaugural season
when they were the Utah Hockey Club.
Yes.
Unless they keep that name, and then I'm just going to stop being a hockey fan.
Oh man, that would suck. I think everyone. I think they will pick a name.
They have to. If they stay with Hockey Club, there's nothing to support there.
No, and I think the Utah fan base also has made it clear. I mean, with the poll being put out, which I haven't seen an update for that in a while.
I don't think we're going to find out till next year. I could be wrong.
There's no way to know. But anyways, for the look this year, I think they played it safe, and I think that's the right call to do. Why go?
Yeah.
Why go crazy on something that's kind of just supposed to be a temporary thing? And maybe that leads to us like kind of realizing like this is a temporary look because they're not really trying to like go crazy. Like, hey, we're gonna put out something that's simple, that's nice, that's gonna work for this year. They have a
Mhm.
nice little shoulder patch that says inaugural season. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is weird that there's going to be a Utah team.
Is
Hmm.
it? Is it that weird?
I was so used to the Coyotes. You gotta think about it, Brett. That team has been in the league since we were hockey fans.
It has.
Now
Yes.
they're gone.
Yes. We knew them when they were the Phoenix Coyotes.
The Phoenix Coyotes too.
There's something else I want to talk about, but I forgot to put it in there. But it is definitely related to what we're talking about, new names and
Oh
everything.
yes.
The PWHL, the highest level of women professional hockey, they played their inaugural season last year, but every team was just PWHL Minnesota, PWHL Boston, PWHL Toronto. All along, they were saying, hey, we decided we didn't have the branding for this year because the women wanted to play hockey. We didn't want them to have another full season of not getting able to play. So we're going to work on the branding behind the scenes and come out with it next season. There were some reports of copyrighted names that came out, and they officially revealed what those six names were going to be this past week, and none of the original copyrighted ones ended up working out. And some people were disappointed that some of those names ended up not being it, and some were glad.
Yeah.
Overall, I think there's some good ones and some bad ones. Unfortunately, I didn't have a little thing ready to show you, but I will walk through the names. So for PWHL Boston, they will
I do have
be
a picture pulled up if you want me to. Like
um
I can read off all the names and stuff.
okay, I'll let you read off the names because that's all I
Yeah.
was gonna do.
So I think one of the best names is the Boston Fleet. That's a really good name. I really like their logo with the whole like a ship anchor facing the sideways with the B.
It's
It's
like a
very
sideways
creative.
whalers logo.
Hmm. Probably my favorite team out of all of them, the Minnesota Frost, until we get a Southern team. I really like Minnesota's color scheme of purple. Purple's my favorite color, and I just think that's a cool name, the Minnesota Frost, because in Minnesota it's cold. I find it funny that the Montreal team, I do like their logo, the
I love it.
Montreal Victoire.
You can just say victory. It's fine. Don't try to say the French
Victory.
word.
I honestly like it. It is funny that they're already naming themselves like we're the winners when they haven't won anything.
Someone commented on the Twitter release of their name saying like I can just see the headlines. Montreal victory go on 6-game losing streak.
It's they set them up for it. I think my second least favorite team is the New York Sirens. Not horrible, but then again, not great.
I'll give my
I kind of
reviews
like,
once you get through them all.
yeah. I kind of like the Ottawa Charge. I think that's a solid name. Very basic, but you know. And then I think the infamous one, which everyone I think is talking about, is the Toronto Scepters.
Terrible. Terrible.
Royalty.
So, originally people thought they were going to be the Toronto Queens because they wanted to do something related to royalty. Um,
Hmm.
and I guess they thought Toronto Queens would be too, I don't know, boring. So they're like, no, we're going to pick Scepters, which, a scepter is something that like a queen holds and everything. So, I mean, it's still there, but that's a weird name for a team. It just is. Toronto Scepters. I mean,
I mean, I heard so I actually listened to a Steve Dangle podcast, and actually like the point that they brought up.
Okay.
Some team names are just bad when you think about it. Like
Example.
let's think about this. The, I'll even bring up my team, the Nashville Predators. When you hear that name, a lot of people that aren't hockey fans are just gonna think, "Oh, child."
And then it's a saber-tooth logo, so it's like
Yeah, it's like okay, makes sense. But we're just talking about team names right now. Some basketball ones that I thought were funny. The Brooklyn Nets.
you're right, that sucks.
The Nets.
It was worse when it was New Jersey, honestly.
Yeah, or the Clippers.
That's the worst one.
That's a bad name. The Utah Jazz.
That New Orleans Jazz was awesome. Utah Jazz sucks.
Yeah, it's so weird. I just had an ad playing in my ear. I got jump scared super bad. But so I think the whole point of like people making fun of the Scepters, like going hardcore, like, oh, this is terrible name. I hate it. Honestly, I think just a lot of team names, when you really think about it, are kind of basic and not huge. Like none of these names are like horrifying. Like
I think so originally there was the Boston Wicked, which I actually like that better than Boston Fleet. That would have been cool.
I like Fleet over that. I think Fleet's such a cool name.
Minnesota, the Minnesota Superior was going to be their name, which is after Lake Superior, which is around Minnesota and Michigan. And Superior's hard. Minnesota Superior is definitely not something that kind of like comes off the tongue easily.
We are the Superior.
So Minnesota Frost, I think, was a good call. I like that name. They are the first ever PWHL champions, but they were PWHL Minnesota. So yeah, Montreal Victory. I love that one, honestly. I love that logo is my favorite.
Oh yeah, it's a sick logo.
New York Sirens is like, okay, I get it, but the name is kind of lame. Like, because with New York City, there's just always sirens going off, So it's like, I get it, but
their logo's a bit. I think their logo is my least favorite.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a very boring logo. Just to explain it visually, there's this weird looking NY that you can barely tell is an NY in the back, and then
to really focus in.
There's sirens written in front of the NY with just these random circles on the left and right. It's like, I don't know. It's a bad logo.
And I'm not a fan of the logo.
Ottawa Charge, I think, is a good, like you said, like a basic name, a good one. Here's the critique: is people are like, this just looks like the Calgary Flames logo.
Oh yeah,
it's like the Red Wings and the Calgary Flames logos had a baby, and it looks like this, like.
Yeah, and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, the Cavaliers, yes. So they said like if you took away the yellow, it'd probably be a lot better. And then we already talked about the Toronto Scepters.
The Scepters is getting pierced by the Toronto.
Here's the stupidest argument, and maybe it's not stupid to some people, but in my opinion it is. They're saying like, how dare you pick a name that's so colonialist? That's one thing I've been seeing.
Oh my god. Oh brother, this guy stinks is what I say to that. Shut the heck up.
How can you do this? This reminds us of the time the colonizers.
Nerd.
It's the Karens going full Karen in the comments about this stuff.
Listen, unless they name their team the Toronto slave owners, I think we're good. Don't name that the episode, by the way.
Thinking about it. I don't know.
No, don't, please.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's on par with the Predators, let's be honest.
Chris Hansen is our mascot.
Oh, jeez. If you want to check out the logos, they're very easy to be able to find out. Just PWHL logos. I don't know how they're going to be streaming their games this year.
I hope it's YouTube again.
Last year you could watch every game for free on YouTube. They didn't keep them there, which I was gonna like go back and watch some at some point. And I'm like, oh, they don't keep them up there, which I guess is fair.
They have them like as highlight packages, I think, right?
Right, but not you can't like watch the full games back. I don't.
Yeah, you can't watch the full game.
So nothing's been announced one way or the other. If they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna be on any main networks. They really aren't big enough for that yet.
Hopefully, either that or ESPN Plus picks them up.
Maybe. We'll see.
ESPN Plus does men's lacrosse league, and that's not huge.
Fair enough.
Honestly, I think the PWHL is more popular than the men's lacrosse.
Right, just a lot more teams with lacrosse. I think so. You're getting a lot more games and everything.
Yeah.
But I think eventually the PHL will pick up. I mean, it's trying to be like the big women's hockey league. Before there were like these 2 or 3 different professional women's leagues, almost like competing against each other, which drove viewership down for all 3 because you got some people that are very dedicated to this one. You got people very dedicated to this one. So all those leagues disbanded and formed this one, which is why honestly all 6 of these teams are like all-star teams. It's like it's basically like you have the national leagues, like the national teams, like competing. Like imagine if all the NHL was USA, Canada, Russia, Sweden, and Finland. It would just be like those teams are always playing each other, basically. Anything else to say about the PWHL? I don't know how much you watched. I watched the first game, a couple of games in the middle, not a lot to be honest, and the championship games.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for expansion.
Right. I mean, this is really like an experiment to kind of see how well it goes. And I mean, they broke records for the most highest attended female hockey events several times. So like they broke the record for one game, and then the very next game, hey, we broke that record again. So
and it was fun to watch games. Like I enjoyed watching games.
Right.
I would love if they did another free season on YouTube until they could get the rights, so that way I can just keep like, oh, there's a hockey game on.
Just boop, boop. Yep, really easy. That's what I liked it about being YouTube, but obviously I don't think that's going to be a permanent thing for them. If they want to continue to make money.
Yeah. I mean, you can make money on YouTube, but
that's true. That's true. I'm sure they're getting some monetization from
not like
YouTube.
As much money as you would when a network picks you up.
No, of course not. Yeah,
a network's paying you like insane numbers of money for you to be on their platform.
Correct, and to be the sole provider of that content as well.
Yeah, hopefully, it's not some weird channel. That's all I'm hoping for.
Like what the Florida Panthers are doing this year. That's some weird thing that I never heard of before. I can't even remember what it's called. That's how it's like. It's supposedly going to be better than Bali. I'm still probably going to be using other memes, other means to watch it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
do you have any fun questions to end our episode on?
Fun question. All right. Is there, and I'll try to make it light, because I'll give you an example of is there anything that your team could do that could make you not a fan of them anymore? So, for example, if the Predators reacquired Victor Arvidsson just to move him to a different team, I think I would be done.
If they pulled,
they would break my heart.
If they pulled a Mike Hoffman, Ottawa to San Jose to Florida.
Yes. If they pulled a Mike Hoffman with my favorite guy, like, oh my God, we're getting him back, and then immediately trade him away, yeah, I think I would quit.
For me, the first thing that came to mind is if they're moved, but maybe that's too obvious.
That's too obvious, of course.
Okay, something like them, like, if it's gonna be hard to be a Panthers fan if they give Barkov the Stamkos treatment when his contract is up in 6 years.
Oh my God.
If they do not re-sign Barkov, it is going to be really difficult to be a Panthers fan.
All right, I have a scenario for you.
Okay.
Barkov traded to Boston.
Oh, I think I'm going full-time baseball. I don't know.
It'd be too
Oh, that
sickening to
would
see
hurt.
him play
Think about how
there.
much I wanted David Pastrnak,
Yeah,
and
and then
like,
you don't get David Pastrnak in the deal. You get a bunch of bums and a couple of draft picks.
if the deal was Barkov for Pastrnak, it would take me a while to heal, but I think I get over. But if it was just like Barkov leaves in free agency and goes to Boston, oh, just saying that it hurts. Oh my gosh, that was like it's gonna like Nathan Horton being in Boston was weird, and he wasn't even like that crazy good for Florida.
I know. That's like where his career ended.
Greg Campbell. I mean, what are these guys doing?
Who?
Gregory Campbell. You remember him?
Oh yeah,
He's like your Jared Smithson that you like stumped me
Superman.
on a few weeks ago.
That guy.
He
I still remember. Do you remember that play where he literally broke his leg but kept playing through a penalty kill?
was that him? I remember
Yeah,
that. I didn't
that was
know. I forgot
him.
it was Gregory Campbell.
It was Gregory Campbell. Literally broke his leg and stayed
Wow.
standing and played a full penalty kill until
Yeah,
I was able to.
he's Cup is on the name. No, I don't think he got his name listed on the Cup for the Panthers, but he does work in our organization somewhere. But his name got on the Cup for Boston 11 in 2011. I think.
Yeah, I think he was on that team.
I'm trying to think of other Florida Panthers who played in Boston. Yager is one that I thought of, but I mean Yager played everywhere. So
Yeah, unless Riley Smith, he played in Boston.
right, but that was before, so it doesn't really count.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Yeah, Barkov to Boston without
that would
Pastrnak in
end it.
return.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Barkov for Trent Frederick and the first round pick.
We're gonna pretend. I'm just gonna try to get that image out of my head. But that is it from us on the Puck Bros podcast. I forgot to tell you guys that's the name of this. It has been on the top of the screen the whole time. And if you were listening, hopefully you realized that you clicked on the Puck Bros podcast. But my name is Brett,
I'm Nolan.
and that's all for today. Until next time, see ya.
See ya.